Hi everyone. Just checking if we are live. Yeah, I can now see all the comments. Great, great. Thanks everyone for joining. So in this session, we're going to talk about Snap. What do you do for the Snap 2 and 3 that are going to be happening very, very soon? So for those of you already taken Snap 1, obviously you know what kind of questions were there and what was the difficulty. But a lot of you maybe didn't take Snap 1 and now you're preparing for Snap 2 and 3. So in this session, we're going to talk about what are the things that you should be focusing on. And if you have any questions regarding Snap, then I'll be very happy to answer them as part of this session. All right, so let's get started. This is a question from Ryan. Can we expect to get previous year question papers on the website? So Snap, since it went online, they have never released the question paper in the public domain, and that is why it is not available. Most memory-based questions that are available in the market, they do not do complete justice to what the test is. And in fact, because it is not available in the public domain, we don't release it, right? Because generally there could be issues in terms of the testing body itself saying that you are not supposed to release these questions or reveal the questions in the public domain. So that is why we don't do that. And the earlier papers, which were 2019 and prior, they were there, but then that format was very, very different compared to the format that we have right now. So Snap at one point of time used to be a test with, I think, more than 100 questions also. So a lot of those things have changed now, and that is why those very old papers do not make sense. And in the last few years, because it's an online test and they have never released the papers, again, it's not possible to get them anywhere in its entirety. Right? Hi Taha, hi Soham. Praveen Raj, I'm afraid of fonts. Okay, so firstly, there is nothing to be afraid of, and the more you get scared of anything, right, you don't feel like studying that often, right? So that is why you should not be scared of anything. And again, that is true for a lot of things. If you're, let's say, scared of, let's say, heights, you will typically not go into buildings that are very tall, right? Or if you're scared of water, you will not go near the swimming pool. But then you have to understand where that fear is coming from. If it is purely because of, let's say, the past experiences that you have had in mathematics, you can always change that by taking steps towards that. So it's not very, very difficult. You have to understand what exactly you will need to get to a slightly better level compared to where you are. So if you look at, let's say, to be specific on the Snap front, the questions weren't very, very difficult in Snap 1 as well. So I have to concentrate on the easy and moderate level questions. I should not be worried about the difficult questions that are there because a lot of people will not solve it. So if I can firstly identify the easy and medium questions and do them correctly, that is going to be enough. In addition to that, what I'll do is I'll also make my other areas strong, because see, there is no sectional cutoff. So let's say for some reason in quant you don't do very, very well. Let's say you get maybe a 12, 13, 14, or let's say even 10 for that matter. Can you cover it up in the remaining two sections that you have? So can I do well on the VRC section? Can I do well on the logical reasoning section? And through that, I cover up so that my overall score is on the higher side. So that is how I would look at it, that continue to work on your quant, but also make the other areas strong so that you have a balance. Okay. Kashish has asked, is 221 good score for Tapni? A little difficult to say right now because we don't know what the final cutoff would be like. In the past, it has been 222, etc. 220. I think when they started, it was 220, and then 225 as well. So you never know whether it will suffice or not. So let's see how things go. In quant, what are the important topics? Okay, so if you look at the Snap 1 analysis that we had done, you will notice that basically they asked questions from every single area. So they didn't leave a particular area altogether. So it wasn't as if there were no questions from numbers, no questions from arithmetic and things like that. Everything was there. I have the presentation also with me, so I can just quickly talk about the important areas in quant and how many questions appeared from each of them. So there were 6 questions from arithmetic, 8 from modern mathematics, 2 each from geometry, numbers, and algebra. Right. So there were no questions on data interpretation, which is a good thing for a lot of people. I would definitely focus on arithmetic and modern maths. I am not going to take these two things lightly. I will practice it extensively. before I go for the test, right? Now, the questions from even say geometry, numbers, and algebra weren't difficult. Some of them were lengthy, yes. For example, in geometry, the question on mensuration, which was on inverted cone, that was a little challenging as a question. Even in algebra, there were a few questions. Let's say, for example, things related to there was a equation given, and you had to identify something based on that. So, in such cases, a lot of people may not be very comfortable with those kind of questions, right? Even if you look at modern mathematics and things like that, so logarithms, for example, some people are not comfortable with it. But then you have to understand what will give you the maximum returns and do those topics for sure, right? So logarithms won't take a lot of time, very limited set of rules, finish it off and then go for the test, right? So that is how I would approach it. But yeah, all the areas were covered. It wasn't that they didn't ask anything from any area except data interpretation. So there was no DI, which is a good thing. Okay. Are all the topics related to Snap available on IMS portal? Yes, they are. So I would suggest you to have a look at the ADMAT masterclass workshops. Those are very, very good for ADMAT level of difficulty. Okay, Chaya, NMAT score 215, which college can I target? Okay, so you'll find a lot of cutoff information on the B-School zone. We have a website called bschoolzone.imsindia.com. You go there, go to the section called cutoffs, and there you put a filter for NMAT. You will see all the institutes that accept NMAT and their cutoffs. So you can find it out from there. QA important topics, as I mentioned, everything was there, but in arithmetic, direct questions on percentages, profit loss discount, simple interest, compound interest, time, speed, distance, time and work, all of them basically. So one direct question from each of these areas. So I would definitely spend energy practicing questions from these topics. Okay. Is it important? This is from Malaika. Is it important to do past year papers for Snap? Does IMS provide Snap past year papers? As I mentioned in the beginning, last few years, because it went online, they stopped releasing the papers in public domain. So full papers are not available anywhere. You may find a couple of videos here and there on YouTube with where people are discussing questions. But then again, it doesn't do complete justice to what the test is. Old papers, they were there in PDF format, but then because the format is very, very different, we decided not to go ahead with it. Instead, I would suggest that you focus on the mocks that we have. So the 10 mocks of Snap that are available, I would focus on them rather than worrying about the past year questions. Rakesh, this is related to NMAT. Tomorrow I'm getting scores in 220, 225. What can I expect? It's been stressing me out. Okay, so Rakesh, since you have your test tomorrow, first of all the best. I hope you do well. And 220, 225 is a decent score. I don't see any reason why you should be worried about your performance. Just go ahead and do your best. Don't sit on any question for a long time. If you think that you're getting stuck, move on, move to the next question by marking something. Ensure that you complete the entire test. Okay. If you're prepared for CAT nicely, giving snap mocks will help. Yes, definitely. So if you're somebody who has prepared for CAT pretty extensively, you just need to take snap mocks and do some of the additional topics that are there. For example, there are always questions on parts of speech and figures of speech. So make sure that you do those things. Clocks questions, calendars, binary logic. So these additional topics is what I will focus on. Palash, will grouping, distribution of objects, derangement, pathways, and routes asked in Snap? That's a little too much to ask from Snap, I would say. Derangement, I strongly doubt if something like that will be asked. Grouping, maybe. Grouping is possible. Distribution of objects, maybe. But derangement, pathways, and routes, I don't think will be asked on the Snap. Ashwin, what's my opinion on Bitsom? Okay, decent place, definitely worth considering if you're expecting in the 85 plus bracket, because they have a profile-based shortlisting system. I think the average or the median percentile, I think they had reported in CAT was around 93, 94 last year, which means that there would be people below that. So 85 plus, I think puts you in a good position. Okay, we'll not discuss a lot of B schools today because the session is on Snap. We'll of course do different session for discussing B schools. We'll get there, but for now the need of the hour is discussing Snap. Post 20th, once NMAT and Snap gets done, we'll shift our focus on which B schools you should be applying to and comparison of B schools and things like that. But right now, no, right? So I just want everybody to focus on Snap instead of worrying about colleges at this point of time. Okay. Shruti, my score is stuck in 30s in mocks. How can I improve? Also, I'm not able to attempt more than 40 questions. Okay, so Shruti, what I'll do in this case is basically just analyze what are these questions that I'm not able to solve. So out of 60, if you're able to do 30 questions, which are these 30 questions that I'm leaving? Am I leaving it by choice, or am I leaving it because I'm running out of time? So if you're running out of time, basically you have to work on your speed, right? You are maybe spending too much time on some questions that are difficult. You are not going very, very fast in terms of skipping questions. So there could be some reasons, right? Which is more on the test taking strategy part of it. So that is if you're running short of time. The second is when you're leaving things by choice, it means that the issue is content. Your content itself is very, very limited at this point of time. So you'll have to identify, okay, what are these 30 questions that I'm not able to solve and what's the reason behind it. If it is content, go back to your books, do the theory, go through the ADMAT masterclasses that are there and so on. And then take more mock tests to practice, let's say, scoring on the higher side, attempting on the higher side, obviously, which will turn into score on the higher side. Okay. Haim had 30 minutes left for Quant, but still couldn't complete all the questions. Please tell us how to tackle this. Okay, so when again, Haim, to answer your question, when I see a question, right, I'm generally very clear whether is this level A, B, C for me or not. So in CAT, we discuss the ABC methodology a lot, which is abhi karo, baad mein karo, chhod do, right? Easy, moderate, difficult. I'm generally very, very clear about that, whether this looks extremely doable to me right now, or it is something that I need a little bit of a time. And silly mistakes tend to happen where you end up reading something wrong, etc. But that's like part and parcel of taking the test. Now with 30 minutes, ideally you should have attempted at least about 16, 17, I would say, if you have the content for that. Right? See, if somebody doesn't have enough content, 30 minutes or 45 minutes or 15 minutes, the person will be able to attempt almost the same number of questions because the person doesn't know how to do the rest of the questions. But if you have the content and then you're not able to solve, the issue is properly, of course, the speed, right? So you have to work on your speed bit. Uh, the first and foremost thing of that is going to be saying, okay, this question, I like it, I can do it right away, finish it off, right? And do it in rounds, right? So if you have seen the Snap live solving that I had done, I follow a rounds approach that you do everything which is easy in the first round and then you move on to the second set of questions. So that ensures that you are doing at least about 9 to 10 easy questions, which puts you in a situation where you feel a little bit comfortable about your attempt, confident about your attempt, and then you can move on to the next set of difficult questions. And if something is not doable, it's not doable, maybe, right? So on that day, no amount of effort will help you to get to the answer because you don't know. There was one question in my in Snap one that day, which was on numbers in a certain range which are divisible by 3 or 7, and sum of all those numbers. Now, this is a lengthy calculation intensive question. It's not a difficult question per se. Right? So technically you can solve it. But then that day, with the time that I had available, I was not able to finish that question. I didn't randomly mark it because again, it's unnecessary risk, correct? So you have to figure out again what is worth the risk, what is not worth the risk, and play accordingly during the test. Okay. Pranjal, how to increase accuracy? See, again, accuracy is a function of how much you know. Right? If your content is strong, typically your accuracy will also be in the higher bracket. It's not going to happen that you know all the topics and concepts, but still your accuracy is 50%. That won't happen. So you have to know the exact set of steps to arrive at answer of a particular thing. Right? So I was taking a session that day for IMS students on ADMAT strategy, and somebody asked me as to how do I get faster, right? So how do I solve like you? And I said that okay, I'm fairly rusty. My speed is still not nowhere close to what it used to be when I was a student. But you have to visualize the solution. And when I say visualize the solution, is whenever you solve problems at home, you try and figure out or recite in your head the steps that you are taking to arrive at the answer. So let's say if the question says A takes 24 days to finish a job, B takes 36 days to finish a job. Together, how much time will they take? So I can write this, right? And a lot of people will start immediately writing. But then can I think, okay, 24, 36, so LCM is what, 72? If LCM is 72, let that be number of units, 72 by 24. So 3 is efficiency of the first person, 2 for the second person, 3 plus 2, 5, 72 upon 5, 144 upon 10, 14.4. This is what you will do if you're writing. But if I recite it in my head and I force myself to do it orally, you remember those steps better. And even in the exam condition, you will not then reach out to your pen and start writing. So in the exam also, you will have the same this confidence that okay, I can back myself on this and do it orally. But that can only happen if you're like doing it enough number of times, right? Otherwise, it's not going to come naturally to you. Okay, SIBM expected cutoff. So SIBM cutoffs are generally 98 plus. So that's what we are looking at. In terms of SNAP 1, if you're asking, 98 percentile, we had estimated very close to SNAP 23 levels. So 43.25 is what it was that time. So 43 plus will put you in a good position for SIBM Pune. I heard this year Quant says that par with 22 paper, what can we expect for slot 2 and 3 when it comes to difficulty? Also, why third slot seems to be toughest. So again, there is no such, no data, no enough data available to prove that slot 3 is the toughest. Things are different in different years. You should not be believing everything that you see on YouTube because a lot of people do not have a lot of information and then they still make videos for whatever reasons, right? So I will say this, that what we have observed is there is definitely a difference in difficulty. There is no denying that, because we have had students who got, let's say, 44 in one paper and then suddenly next paper they got 50. It clearly shows that it's not that in 6 days they did something magical that their performance got better. So it is dependent on what the difficulty of the test is, and it's an unfortunate thing that ultimately your highest score in the 3 slots gets accounted for, and then they use it to calculate the final percentile. So when it comes to the first part of the question that you have asked, which is on what to expect for slot 2 and 3, no expectation, right? So don't keep any expectations. But what I'll do is I'll look at snap 1, I'll look at the topic distribution, and I will ensure that I cover those topics at least. So binary logic, for example, if I'm walking into snap 2 or snap 3 without having done binary logic, then it's a problem. So it's very difficult to estimate, okay, whether the paper will be difficult or easy or moderate. It's a subjective assessment, correct? And when people take different tests, or let's say if I take personally, if I take snap 1 2 3, I'll be able to comment, okay, whether 1 was easier or 2 was easier, and so on. So somebody has to take all 3 tests to comment on, okay, which one was easier, and that person should also have the same level of preparedness in all 3 tests, which doesn't happen. So the ideal conditions to measure the difficulty are not there. So no comments on that, I will say, but look at the topic distribution. Ensure that you do those topics. So will you do clocks before you go? Absolutely. Will you do calendars? Yes. Binary logic? Yes. Figures of speech, parts of speech? Yes. Right. So I will do all of these things that are bound to come in the test, and then hope that okay, I'll be able to solve them. Are there any sectional cutoffs or just an overall cutoff? No sectional cutoffs, it's just overall score that matters. And that is why I said that even if you, let's say, don't do well on a particular area, as long as you compensate for that through some other area, you should be fine. So last year also, I didn't do very well on the VRC section. I had less than 10, but my quant was 18 on 20, and LR was 23.75, which is 24 correct, one wrong, I think. So something like that, which means that if you can compensate through some other section, you don't have to worry too much about that one area. But that one area shouldn't be very, very bad. So it should not be that you are getting, let's say, less than 50% of the possible marks. Not that bad. But if it is more than that, you can definitely survive in the test. How to tackle the American versus British English for SNAP? So I don't know honestly, because I'm not a verbal faculty. But you can just check out as to what are the key differences between American and British English, and then go for the test. What are the important topics in geometry? So in geometry this year, in Snap 1 at least, there was one question on mensuration, so that I will definitely do. And yeah, that's about it. So I would not pick one area over the other. If you have the basics of triangles, circles, polygons in place, so number of diagonals, for example, there was one question. If you know these concepts, you should be fine. So see, for Snap, it's very clear that you do easy and moderate level questions across all the topics. Don't jump into difficult questions. Do not spend your time on that because they will not appear mostly. Even if they appear, you will mostly not end up doing it. So what's the point of doing it in practice also right now? So that's why I'll focus more on the easy and the moderate ones. Are DI graphs caselets asked in SnapQuant? Yes, they used to be asked earlier, but the years in which they appeared, there used to be like 2 questions on DI, but now they have stopped asking it maybe. So this year in SnapQuant, there were no DI questions. Again, I would encourage all of you to have a look at the video that we had made after the test, which is Snap 1 analysis, where I've covered all these things in detail as to which topics the questions appeared from and what are the number of questions. So you basically just follow the same set of topics, do them properly, and you should be fine. Can I leave geometry? There were just a couple of questions. So possible to leave geometry. There were 2 questions. So possible, but then if you know the basics, they help you in some or the other case, right? See, you never know where the difficult questions are going to come from. So let's say you are somebody who is an expert at algebra, right? At least you think you are an expert. Uh, you go for the test and suddenly there are 2 questions. Both of them are extremely difficult. Then what do you do, right? Then, so if you have dropped a lot of other topics, then it becomes a problem. So dropping one area of quant, let's say for example a geometry or an algebra, will not hurt you a lot in Snap. If you drop a modern math or an arithmetic, it will definitely hurt you. So modern mathematics and arithmetic you have to do because you get the maximum number of questions from these areas. From the other topics, I can possibly drop an area because it's just 2 or 3 questions, but I should have other areas where I'm good at, else it will become a problem. 51 attempts with 5-6 assumptions. I'm considering 46. Is that like a good score for SIBM? 46 should be good because 46 last year was 99 plus percentile. So definitely in a good position. Even in Snap 2020, 46 was 99 percentile. So if you get around 46, you should be fine. I attempted 43 in Snap 1. I think 2-3 questions are wrong. 40 plus is expected. What colleges can I get? I filled SIBM Pune and SIBM Bangalore. Okay, 40 plus, right? Okay, so if you're getting 40 plus, that should be somewhere in the range of 95 percentile, 94, 95 percentile roughly. In that case, you can look at SIIB Pune and SIBM Bangalore, right? So these 2 colleges you can consider. In Snap 1, my speed was too slow, so that I attempted only 41 questions. How can I increase my speed so that मैं ज़्यादा attempt कर सकूं? Okay, again, similar to the answer that I gave some time back. 41 questions you attempted. Take a few mocks. Figure out which are the topics that you are not able to answer. Now, even in the test, you will be able to remember which questions you were not able to answer. So, were there, let's say, series questions which you could not answer, or were they, say, assumption inference based, or let's say something related to set theory that you are not able to answer, etc. Right? So, just identify what is it that is stopping you from going to the next score. So, work on those topics. It's not you don't have a lot of time, but whatever limited time also you have, I would not need too many questions to be good at it. So let's say binary logic. You do 15-20 questions of binary logic, you will get the hang of the methodology that you're supposed to follow. Right? And that's the same thing that you need to do there. Clocks do 15-20 questions because the questions were very basic. One of the questions was at 555, what is the angle? Hardly anything in that question, right? It's just knowing one formula if you prefer the formula approach, or just the basics of what is the relative speed when it comes to clocks. Calendars, there were 2 questions, right? So if you know how to work with these things, there are marks which are easily available. So see if there are any topics that you have not done, because of which you are getting on the lower side. Okay. Okay. Please make a video on CMAT and CT. Sure. Afzal, we still have some time to get there, so we'll definitely make it. CMAT, we have made the form filling video. Please fill the form at the earliest. A lot of people have reported OTP issues. So those of you planning to take the CMAT, I would suggest that you fill the form as early as possible. Regarding CET, yes, because it's in March, we'll start making more content as we progress. Please talk about XGMT, MyCat, CMAT all occurring on same day. I'm still hoping that at least one of them decides to change the date. I mean, it's unbelievable as to how they have put all of these things on one single day. I mean, because see, as a testing body, you know when the other tests are happening, right? So this is just cruel behavior, I think, where they have just put everything on one day. Right? I mean, just shift at least by 2 days, one day, whatever. That would still be okay. Because clearly XGMT for a different reason people will take, MyCat for a different reason, CMAT for a different reason. Now you have to identify if, let's say, you are somebody who is extremely focused on MICA, advertising, marketing, communication is what your interests are, definitely take MyCat. Right? Now, but if you think that no, MICA doesn't interest me, then it's a choice between XGMT and CMAT. XGMT, the good thing is the cutoffs are on the lower side because there are fewer takers. And if you see their cutoffs, in some cases, it's around 60, 70 in the sectionals as well. But then it is for only one college. So through CMAT, you don't have a lot of great institutions, but you have something like a JBIMS, which accepts it for all India seats, which are 15%. So it's a tricky call. I would suggest that you figure out what matters to you more and then decide to take that up. Right. So because see, all these exams, at least MyCat, CMAT, they happen in the morning. I mean, CMAT you can still get a second slot, but MyCat is wherever I've seen there is always one single slot that they have. So it's going to be a challenge. Let's see. I would suggest that all of you just write to these institutes and let them know that there is a clash that is happening and it's putting sort of a challenging situation for everybody. Can you please tell about SIIB Pune? It has international business course, not PGDM MB. Okay, so in India, whenever they have to create a new program, they call it something different, but it's essentially the same MBA curriculum with a few different things, right? So it's like when you go to a restaurant and order, let's say, a veg kadai, and you order something else, you basically realize that the tastes aren't very different from each other. Right? So one taste similar to the other. That is because the base is the same. Right? So that is how I would look at all of these programs. The core MBA program, if you let's say have 80% of it retained, and you add 20% of it as some additional topics related to additional subjects related to international business, you can call that program MBA in international business. If you add, let's say, more courses on retail management, you can call that program MBA retail management. So I would not think too much about the name of the degree. I would think a lot about the name of the institute. So if it is SIIB, international business, that international business has got nothing to do with it. It's just SIIB, which is one of the top four options that you have through SNAP. Symbiosis, SIBM Pune, SIBM Bangalore, SCMHRD, and SIIB, correct? So it's one of the top four options, which means if you are at like that 90-92 plus percentile bracket, you have to apply. Because in a test which is giving you, let's say, what 20-25 odd programs that they have, out of that top 4, top 5, you have to target. Right? Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to even take the test. So I'll not worry about the international business part of it. It's just a regular MBA program with that additional flavor of international business. Is SDA Bokuni a good college? Okay, off topic. Decent place. Again, they haven't done anything wrong in the last several years in terms of their own branding and communication. And good place to be in. And I would say that if you are somebody who is okay with the kind of things that they offer, then you apply. See, right now it's too early to say for me also and for others also to conclusively say that okay, you should get this college or you should get that college, because we don't have most of the scores right now. Right? We just have maybe for those of you who have taken NMAT, the NMAT score is available. So you should apply and see what happens. But it's a decent option through NMAT for sure. And even they of course accept CAT and other exams as well. Is the cutoff going to be lower than last year for Snap? No, I strongly doubt that. Snap 1 that I took was very similar to Snap 1 of last year. So don't really see any change happening in the cutoffs. Now, depending on what is the difficulty of slot 2 and 3, there could be some changes. But purely basis slot 1 or Snap 1, don't see cutoffs dropping anywhere. What if I already converted a college like NIBM, etc.? I'm looking forward for MSc Finance, JB, IMS. Okay, so see, MSc Finance for JB starts very late. You don't have to worry about that right now. I would say focus on Snap, get it out of your way. You have other exams also that will happen post that. And JB, IMS, MSc Finance is like after April. So you have a lot of time. Important chapters for modern maths for NMAT SNAP can be done in remaining days. Permutation, combination, probability, both, basics. There was a question on how many words can be formed. So word formation, number formation, this I will definitely do. Probability I'll definitely do. So there are so many boys and so many girls, whatever, and then some erasers, pens, etc. are getting distributed. So if somebody is randomly picked, then what is the probability that that boys has some eraser or pen or something like that was there? So you have to do probability as well, correct? So do permutation, combination, basics, probability also basics, word formation, number formation questions, and then direct probability questions. Okay. How is Quant in NMAT this year? Okay, so again, let's focus more on Snap in this session because this is for Snap. I don't want to waste time of people who have come here for the Snap discussion. So that is why I'm not taking a lot of questions where people have asked about other colleges. We will do a session for sure on that once Snap and NMAT get over. So after 21st, we will plan more and more sessions, more interactions, more frequently, wherein we can cover these things. But today, let's focus more on Snap. Regarding Snap colleges and their deadlines, all of these details are available on again vSchool Zone. So vschoolzone.imsindia.com. You will find the application deadlines there. The other thing that you can go do is go to the college website for the Snap website also, and there they have given list of the individual business schools. You can visit that and you will be able to find the deadline. So some are still open. Snap colleges are of three types, right? Colleges that get where the application deadline is before Snap. Second set of colleges where it is before Snap result, and third which is after Snap result. Right? So you have a lot of options. I would say visit the B School Zone and keep a track of application deadlines. When can we expect the result of Snap? I think they have already given it on the website somewhere as the result date. Generally, I think it's around 10th Jan or something like that. Generally, I don't remember for this year what's the date, but generally around that time. Okay. Is SIOM worth joining this year? Okay, so if you convert and if that is the best call that you have, I think it's okay to join. Okay, it's a decent place. Generally, the cutoff is 85 plus, and they are known for what they offer, right? So they have been for a very long time. A lot of people know about SIOM. So it's not an institute which has recently started or people are not familiar with. So in such cases, I will apply. I'll see how things work out. Whether to join or not is always a call that needs to be taken with your profile and your aspiration in mind. In a YouTube one-on-one, in a YouTube session, which is in a one-to-many format, I cannot answer that question. I would suggest that you can always write to me. Most IMS students can easily reach out to me through some or the other way, either through their centers or online or something like that. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. So reach out and there I can help you discuss that particular aspect, whether you should join or not, basis your profile. So it's a good college, but whether you should go there or not, that's a better question to ask. How much attempt in quant should I target? It's my weak area in SNAP. Okay. See, this year I'm saying in Snap 1 at least, good attempt would have been somewhere around 14, 15. Uh, very, very good people in Quant would have attempted close to 18 or more. So considering that, I think 13, 14 is a good attempt to target. If let's say even you're not very good at Quant, 13, 14 questions, I think that's a good target to keep. Okay. Whether IMS provides previous year Snap question papers? No, we don't. And I answered this question sometime back as well. For two main reasons. One, the old papers, which were pre 2019, the format is very, very different. It's nowhere close to what Snap is right now. And since it went online, they stopped giving papers in the public domain. So we don't have the exact papers, and that's why we don't do it. How to improve accuracy in Snap LR? See, LR has multiple things. In some of those you will have good accuracy. In some of them you will not have good accuracy. For example, if you look at say something like an series-based question, right? It strikes you or it doesn't strike you. Right? So sometimes even after you put in a lot of effort, the answer doesn't come to you. So you have to see whether how much time you are spending on that. Right? Versus if you look at say coding decoding questions, a lot of them were fairly straightforward, except one arbitrary question that was there. So I would say that when you look at accuracy, you have to figure out firstly, is it something that I know, and then only enter it. Because if you're confident about that, the fact that you know it, most likely you'll be able to reach the answer, and your accuracy will be 90%, 100%. If you're doubtful and then you enter the question, it's going to be a bit of a challenge. The second aspect is, should I take risks? Because there'll be a lot of questions on, let's say, assumptions, inference, conclusion, etc., where you have to go with, you have to back yourself. Right? So you have to be confident that, okay, I have attempted 4 other questions which are correct. Even if I attempt this one question and for whatever reasons, if it goes wrong, I can live with that minus 0.25. So I have to be, if my attempts are very high, I'm in a position to take risks. If my attempts are on the lower side, I'm not in a position to take risks, right? Because then the downside is huge. At a very high level, let's say if you attempted 56, 57 questions, you can still take risk with the remaining 3 questions because it's not going to make a lot of difference. But if you're not certain of the 55, 56 questions that you have attempted, and there itself you're thinking, okay, I'll get maybe 50 correct or 45 correct, I'm not going to take more risk. Okay, I'm able to attempt LR with very high accuracy, but English and LR takes a lot of time. I'm unable to attempt much in quant. I need a strategy. Okay, so try out my strategy, see if it works. I don't know if it will work for others, but at least personally, it works very well for me. Start with verbal, 6, 7, 8 minutes max. Do all the easy questions. The next section you can pick depending on your interest area, either LR or quant. Again, spend about 10 to 15 minutes there. That would be your round 1. Finish off all the easy questions and be absolutely ruthless when it comes to skipping questions, right? Sometimes I end up even skipping moderate questions because first round I'm not going to do that. Second round, yes. So be ruthless and skip questions. Go to the third section, do the same exercise. If you continue to do this, by the end of about 35 minutes, you will have, or you should have, close to about 30 attempts. Okay, if you have done it correctly. And then you have 25 odd minutes, 20, 25 odd minutes, and you have the remaining 30 odd questions, which are going to be moderate and difficult. So then again, you do a similar thing. So there's the second round that happens for verbal, quant, and LR. So see if it works. I'm stuck around 35, 37 marks in Snap. Push 10 plus marks. How to do that? Identify what areas you have not done, because when you're getting 35, 37, there are a lot of questions that you're not attempting or you don't know, right? And that is why you're not attempting it. So I will focus on those areas, practice them a lot, and that's about it. I'm able to attempt only 46 questions. Most I start with verbal QLR. How do I maximize attempts? 46 is not a bad attempt. I would say you just need to increase it marginally. Another 10, 20% improvement and you should be fine. Again, identify what are the areas that you're not doing. So 14 questions, what are these? Is it, let's say, logarithms? Is it trigonometry? Is it something else? And then focus on that. For the first snap attempt, I was not prepared for modern math and it had a lot of questions. So should I add that chapter in my next attempt as I didn't study? Yes, I clearly mentioned that there were a lot of questions from arithmetic and modern mathematics. So you have to do these two areas for sure. And then only you should go for the next snap. Is the admit practice session same level as snap exam? Yes. Okay. So see, let me give you a bit of an advice which is common for everybody. Uh, After the snap was conducted, a lot of people, they told me that our mocks were not representative of what happens on the snap. Okay. But see, the point is, if you look at my attempt, snap mock one that I had done of IMS, I was able to do, I think, got a score of 52 point something. In the actual snap, I've been able to get a score of 50 points. So the difference is marginal. You will always find that no mock, and it's not only about IMS, you take any other mock, none of the mocks will be able to closely or accurately predict what is going to happen. So if there is a new question type, the way it happened in MyCat this year, nobody had predicted that, okay, that question type will appear, where the analogies, which are like 1:2, 3:4, they gave 2:3 and they asked what 1:4 will be, correct? So prediction is always like difficult thing. If you say IMS mocks are easier, ideally all of you should be scoring very high, right? If that is not happening, then they're not easy. So that is why don't believe a lot of things when people randomly make those statements that, okay, this was easy, that was difficult, and things like that, because they haven't seen a lot of tests, right? So I would take these comments with a pinch of salt and say that if the test is easy, are you doing justice to that paper? And if the paper is difficult, are you doing justice to that paper? See, if tomorrow paper comes out to be very, very easy, will you be somebody who comes out with 60 attempts? If yes, then great. But if not, then you still have a lot of things to be done. Okay? So that is why whatever mocks you are taking, it could be IMS, it could be something else. Are you getting the score which is reflection of the best potential that you have? Or it is not. Correct? If it is not, then you have a lot of things to be done and you focus on those areas without worrying about how much score in this will be equal to how much score in that, which is what a lot of people keep asking, right? So so much score in NMAT IMS mocks will translate to what score in the actual? Nobody knows, right? Very, very difficult to answer that question because it's not possible to answer it. There are too many variables that happen on the test day. So how will the test environment be? Will you get, let's say, slightly easier questions? Um, will you get an order of questions which will be different to somebody else? And is that order favoring your performance and things like that? So you never know, right? That is where the issue lies. But you practice. So AdMat masterclasses, very, very good resource. Make sure that you practice it. Definitely take all the mocks. That will really help you to be ready for Snap. How is final percentile calculated overall or slot wise? Thanks, Karthik, for asking that question. This is the most unfortunate thing about Snap, is that they have a stupid mechanism of calculating the final percentile. So what they do is, let's say somebody has taken slot 1, slot 2, slot 3 and has got scores like 35, 40, 45. They will take that raw score of 45 of slot 3 and use it for percentile calculation. So they don't normalize, which they should be doing, but they don't, and that is the unfortunate part of it. Vicky, this is this Snap Live, but I'm asking a question regarding NMAT, NMIMS, but what should be tentative date for the cutoff release? NMAT cutoffs generally is in Jan. So I think Jan second week roughly is what you can expect NMIMS cutoffs. I've recently converted SD Bocconi Asia Center. I'm a fresher. Should I consider joining? Okay, so firstly, you still have some of the results remaining. You have CAT result to go. You have other tests remaining. So I would say that if you think that, okay, this is one of the options that is something that I would like to join, you're getting a decent scholarship, you can reserve the option and see what happens, right? So you still have more results coming up. Basis that you can decide what to do. So you figure out, okay, what is the last date to inform them? At least I'll reserve my seat, look at the cancellation policy. See, because this is a game that everybody will eventually play, right? Where they make sure that you have a secured admit, and once you have that, then you try for better institute. You keep checking on the last day to withdraw your application fees or your first year fees, etc. So that if you get a better institute, you can always make the jump. But yeah, you still have some time before we get there. All right. Any more questions on Snap? Just to like quickly summarize for maybe those of you joined in late, please have a look at the Snap analysis that we had done. First day analysis. We have covered all the important topics that appeared in Snap and the number of questions. What to focus on in VRC? It's going to be because there is no RC that they asked. It's purely going to be grammar and vocabulary. Alongside that, do parts of speech, figures of speech, because there are direct questions on that. When it comes to the LR section, do a lot of series practice, coding, decoding questions, do binary logic, and do things like assumption, inference, conclusion, strengthening, weakening arguments. And when it comes to quant section, the dominant areas were arithmetic and modern mathematics. Focus on these two. And if you have more time, you can always add to that, which is algebra, geometry, PNC probability, right? So, sorry, algebra, geometry, and numbers, right? So those would be the other three things to look out for. Definitely do clocks, must do calendars, because they have asked two questions from each of these areas. So do it properly before you go for the next attempt. Okay. Okay, Vicky, I think you have written a mail to me, so let me get back on that. Uh, we'll discuss. Okay, so I think I have received your mail if I'm not wrong. So we'll connect there. Okay, because it see all these discussions, right, which college should I join, I have this admit, what should I do, to discuss it, I have to know a lot about the profile of the student, and it's not possible to give a vanilla advice and say you join this, you don't join this, because every year if hundreds of students are going to a particular B school, that B school stands for something, right? It's not just like some random thing which is happening. So that is why don't reject the institutes outright. Talk to somebody before you take such decisions. Um, this is from Rigank. Is the percentile calculation done on basis of everyone's best score or some other factors? No, they just take everybody's best score for final computation. What's the cutoff for NMIMS, Hyderabad and Bangalore? If I recall correctly, I think it was 206 last year. I don't have it exactly in front of me, but I think 206 is what it was. Okay, I would suggest, strongly advise all of you to visit bschoolzone.imsindia.com and bookmark that link. Keep visiting it because we update a lot of information in terms of colleges, their cutoffs, and the upcoming deadlines. So those would be the things to look out for. bschoolzone.imsindia.com. Oh, sorry. NMIMS Bangalore was higher. NMIMS Hyderabad was 206, I think. Thanks, Vicky, for correcting. Bangalore was, of course, high because Bangalore is one of the slightly older institutes that they have. But Hyderabad and Indore is generally the least. It's like 206, 210, that kind of a range. Should one fill second attempt for NMAT? Which colleges accept NMIMS? Okay, got 194. Okay, so apart from NMIMS and KJ Somaya, all of the colleges accept your best NMAT score. So you can go for a retake if it is possible, because now there is a 15-day mandatory period also that you need to have between two attempts. So see when you took your first attempt and you will be able to even take the second attempt or not. Whole analysis video on Snap One. Okay, it is there on our channel, on the IMS channel. Go to the live section and there you will find a video that we had released on Sunday for the entire analysis. Okay, when is the IMS program for GDPI starting? It has already started. I mean the enrollments have started. The first official session that we are going to do is from 18 December. So better to register prior to that. What may be a good cutoff for SIBM Pune and SCMHRD? So SIBM Pune and SCMHRD are generally 98, 97 respectively. A score to get there would be something like a 44 when it comes to SIBM Pune and somewhere around 43 for SCMHRD. So there's a very marginal difference between SIBM and SCMHRD cutoffs. Okay. All right. I think we have discussed a lot. I would suggest again all of you to look at the school zone where you'll find more information on cutoffs. Yeah. Okay. I think there was some issue in between. Anyway, okay. I think we are more or less done with the session. So we'll end it here. Thanks for joining. And if your question was not answered, please feel free to leave it as a comment on either this video or the Snap live analysis video that we had done. And I'll be very happy to take it, reply to you as early as possible. Okay. All right. Great. Thanks everyone for joining and wish all of you all the best for upcoming Snap. Hope this interaction has helped you. And let me know if you have any thoughts, comments in the chat section. Okay. Bye, everyone. Take care.